Kvod HaMenahel, Rabbi Shulman Shlita, Rabbi Yanki Mendelbaum, HaMelamdim HaChashuvim, Morai v'Rabotai, Shavua Tov, G'tvach. I never thought I would be here on Motzei Shabbat. I still work on Shabbat. I'm still trying to become a Shomer Shabbos. I went to Florida for the Torah Masorah Convention. I was walking into the convention on Thursday. I was still on the walkway. And this tall fellow approaches me, and he says to me, "You Ozeri?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You costed me a fortune." I said, "What'd I do, hit your car?" He says, we're giving every Rebbe a $5,000 raise. It's costing us $350,000. I don't know what the number he told me. I said, "I really don't have any pity on you. Chazak u'baruch hashikayach. I'd like to give you a kiss." And I went on my merry way. I said, "I hope I don't bump into him again over the weekend." The other night, I'm sitting at home, knock at my door. Who's there? Rabbi Yanki Mendelbaum. This is in Brooklyn, not in Lakewood. Walks in, and he says to me, "You're coming to Lakewood, Motzei Shabbat." I said, "I'm not coming to Lakewood, Motzei Shabbat. Forget about it." He says, "You're coming." "Why?" "I got the same drasha. You costed me a lot of money. We're giving the Rabbeim a $10,000 raise." I said, "I thought you told me $5,000. "Oh, we doubled it to $10,000. "Okay, if you doubled it to $10,000, we'll come to Lakewood." Chazak u'baruch Yanki Mendelbaum. Ashrecha v'tov lach. May you keep going, and may Orchos Chaim be the prime example for every cheder and every day school in this country, Be'ezrat Hashem. I'd like to begin with a short story. There was a couple who both of them worked, and they worked very hard, and they decided that they needed a long overdue vacation, and they decided that they're going to go to Florida. Fine. And they made reservations to leave the next week, and after the reservations were made, a few days later, the wife realizes that she has a very important business appointment that morning, and she can't go till the next day. The husband says, "You know what? I'll go myself, and I'll take care of all the preparations. I'll rent the car, I'll get the hotel room, I'll prepare everything. And this way, when you come, you could just enjoy the vacation. I'll unpack, I'll do everything." Okay, fine. He went, and he did exactly that. After he got there, he was there for almost a whole day. He said, "It's only proper that I email my wife to tell her that everything is okay." What happens? He's trying to remember her email address, and he's having a very hard time remembering it. Finally, he thinks he gets it. He puts in the email address, but he was off by one dot, www.com. He was off by a dot. And he sent the email. Who got the email? A woman who's somewhere in this country whose husband died the day before. She gets the email. She goes to her computer. She looks at it, and she faints. Her family goes running over to the computer to read what it says. They don't know what happened. They go to the computer, and it says the following. It says, "To my beloved wife, they just checked me in down here. Eagerly awaiting your arrival tomorrow. Love, your eternal husband. P.S. It's very hot down here." Rabotai, there are times in life where we can't be off by a dot. Not a dot. And certainly one of those areas is our children's chinuch. We cannot be off by one dot. It can make all the difference in the world. A number of years ago, I made an appointment with the Mashgiach Rav  Hashem Yishmereu. We should have a refuah shelema betoch holei amo Yisrael. there was somebody that was having major shalom bayit problems. And we went to the mashgiach to talk to him, the husband and myself. Went into his home, he greeted us, sat down, he heard the man out, and he said, heard all the man's complaints and everything that's going on, and he said, I want to tell you a story. Now, Rabotai, I would never say this story if I didn't hear it directly from the mashgiach. It's not a happy story. Listen carefully. The mashgiach says back in Europe, there was a minhag in a certain place where when somebody is a goses, a deathbed, on their deathbed, the entire mishpacha comes into the room. The wife and the children and the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. And the Chevra Kadisha comes and surrounds the bed, and the head of the Chevra Kadisha stands at the foot of the bed, and they say all the tefillot as the man is leaving this world. He says, and so it was in Europe. There was a man, very elderly man, very old man, and he was on his deathbed. They brought the entire family. There was almost 300 offsprings trying to get into that room. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. It was a very large family. He himself had many children, and all his children had many children. And the Chevra Kadisha came, and they were making the tefillot, and the man is about to turn over and die, and he picks his head up, and he points to the head of the Chevra Kadisha at the foot of the bed. And he says to him, you see that woman over there, my wife? I never had one good day with her. And he turns over and dies. End of the story. I said to the mashgiach, b'mechilat kevodo, that's a terrible story. He says, Rav Dovid, I want you to hear well. It's not about being happy. It's about accomplishing in life. Yes, it would be very nice if you're happy with it, but it's about accomplishing. This man had 300 offsprings. Yere'imu shelemim. So life is about accomplishing, not so much about being happy. Sitting in this room, what should our accomplishments be focused on? This week's parashah, this morning's parashah, we read about the Myaledot. Vayitav Elohim lamyaledot. Vayerev ha'am vayatzmu me'od. Rashi says, Vayitav Elohim lamyaledot mahu hatovah. What was the goodness that Hashem did to them? Vahi kiru hamyaledot et Elohim vaya'as lahem batim. He made them batim. Rashi says, what was the batim? Kohen, Levi, and Malchut. What was the midah keneged midah in this schar that they got? Rabotai, listen carefully. If Paro would have got his way and killed every male baby, there still would have been a Klal Yisrael because there would have been females. There would have been the baby girls. They would have grown up with no males. Who would they have married? They would have married Gerim. They would have married Goyim, but their children would be Jewish. There would still be a Klal Yisrael, but there would be no Kohanim, there would be no Leviim, and there would be no Malchut. Because from Gerim, you cannot have Kohanim, Leviim, or Malchut. And these women, they were the ones through their sacrifice, they perpetuated these three establishments of Kohen, Levi, and Malchut. What did they actually do? They saved Klal Yisrael. We have to come to the level of Vatehayena et hayeladim. We have to save Klal Yisrael. The midwives saved Klal Yisrael physically. We, in our door, the Nisayon is to save Klal Yisrael spiritually. Most Jewish children in America are spiritually dead, lo alenu. At that convention, Torah Masorah, a man by the name of Gary Targo got up to speak. And he said some devastating words. He said, 1 out of every 3 American Jews belong to the Reform movement. And 80% of them marry goyim. Did you hear that number? 80%, Rabotai, marry goyim. We are the Sheretz HaPleita of this dor. If we do not take our children's chinuch seriously, Has v'shalom, it's another spiritual shoah. How do we do it? How do we do it? Number one, first and foremost, our homes have to be homes of tahara and kedusha. How we talk, how we act, and what permeates the air in our home. Number two, we have to make sure that we have the absolute best melamdim and minhadchot for our children, the best that money could buy. There are many fathers in this room. How many hours a day do you spend with your sons? 2 hours? I'm talking about on a regular weekday. 2 hours? An hour? Maybe a half hour? How many hours does your son's Rebbe spend with your son? 4 hours? 5 hours? 6 hours? When's the last time you spent 6 hours in one day with your son? I can't remember when. A parent called me recently, hysterically crying. She tells me that in a certain yeshiva where her son goes, a Rebbe in public in the dining room called her son a stupid idiot and threw him out of the dining room in front of the entire yeshiva. The boy came home, devastated, crying, doesn't want to go back to yeshiva. What should she do? I told her, you know what you should do? Go to the hanhala of that yeshiva and demand that Rebbe's resignation. That's what you should do. Has v'shalom, a Rebbe should ever embarrass a child, b'rabim, lo alenu. This is why we must employ the best rabbeim there is, and we are not allowed to let money get in the way. Rabotai, aseh lecha rav. Every family is obligated to have a Rebbe, a Rosh Yeshiva. Every child must know my parents have a Rav. My parents have a Rosh Yeshiva to look up to and to look up to in awe. You know, Motzei Shabbat, you're supposed to tell stories about tzaddikim. At least that's what the Hasidim say you should do. Let me tell you a story, Rabotai. Many years ago, in Yerushalayim, there was a 50th wedding anniversary. This couple was very matzliach in life, in everything. In gashmiut, in ruchniut, in briut, they had everything. All their children and grandchildren, great-grandchildren, yereim ushlemim, all maleh Torah. They had this large 50th wedding anniversary. And one of the children got up, the grandchildren, and said, Zaidi, tell me, how did you do it? How are you zoicha to all this? He says, let me tell you a story that happened in the time of Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. He says, there was a wedding of a girl who was a bit older and waited a long time to find the shidduch. Came the wedding, everybody's coming into the wedding, they start the Kabbalat Panim, they take out the ketubah, and the Hatan turns to his father and says, I can't do it. Can't do it? Can't go through it. Can't go through it? What are you talking about? He says, I can't go through it. I can't get married tonight. I have cold feet. So what are you talking about? We're here. This is it. This is the chasana. I'm leaving. You can't leave. Right? Starts buzzing. The boy gets up. He goes out to talk with the boy. Before you know it, the boy runs away. He leaves. Father doesn't know what to do. Comes back into the chasana. The mechutin comes over to him. What just happened? He says, I'm sorry to tell you, he left. He's afraid to get married. He ran away. He says, what? You know what a bizayon for my daughter? She's in the next room with the woman over there. What's going to be? Till she found the shidduch. It's a bizayon gadol. We can't do this. You have to get him back. All the boys' friends were buzzing outside. In walks the Masada Kedushin, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. They run over to him. Can we get rid of the waiters? The waiters. They run over to him, to Rabbi Yosef Chaim, and they tell Rabbi Yosef Chaim what went on here, and the bacha left. He ran away. Yosef Chaim talks to the parents. The father of the girl goes crying to Rabbi Yosef Chaim, do something. My daughter. Does she know what's going on? No, she doesn't know what's going on. Rabbi Yosef Chaim takes all the boys' friends, and he says to them, does anybody here want a big chelik in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba? I will guarantee any boy that marries this girl right now will get a big chelik in Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba. Every beracha there is. Turns to the first boy. He says, I can't do it. My parents will kill me. Not doing it. Goes to the next boy. I didn't buy a new tie for my wedding. Nothing. No. Goes down the line. One bacha says, I'll do it. You'll do it? If you tell me that I'm going to have that beracha, I'll do it. Okay? Go get his parents. They sent for his parents. His parents came. Rav Yosef Chaim explains in the situation. The parents said, wait, what are you kidding me? Rav Yosef Chaim says, I'm telling you, he'll have bracha, he'll have everything. In those days, people used to listen to the rabbi. Said, okay, we'll do it. Now they have to tell the girl. They go into the Kabbalah's pardon where the girl is. They call her out and they tell her, listen, you remember your chassan? No more, gone. New chassan. She goes, what are you talking about? He's gone, we have a new one for you. Where's my hatan? Don't matter, forget about him. No hatan. Can you imagine the photographer at that wedding, the pictures before and after? Two different hatanim. What happens? She says, who are you talking about? I never even saw the boy. What are you doing? Okay, they bring the boy in. They sit her down with him. They talk for 10 minutes. Finish. They get married. End of story. The grandfather at this anniversary party says, you know who that hatan was? Me. You know who that kala was? Your grandmother. And we have everything. Everything. We have everything we ever wanted in Olam Hazeh. We're certainly going to have a big chelik in Olam Haba. Who's the hero of that story? Who's the hero? Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld. He's the hero of that story. Yes, the hatan was tremendous mesirut nefesh. Every family needs a Rav. Every family needs an outstanding Talmid Hacham. Every family, every child needs to understand that the family has a Rebbe or a Rosh Yeshiva that's directly involved with the family on the daily basis. Our children need to see mesirut nefesh on our part for their chinuch. There was a man in Europe who didn't have money to pay for his son's melamed. He dismantled the oven, the bricks that kept them warm, and he sold it to pay for the melamed. And they lived through a cold Russian winter without heat. And that man was zocher to no other than the Ribaz, Rav Dovid ben Zev, because of those actions. There was a woman in Yerushalayim who has many children. She had 6 children that were going to school. She owned 1 pair of children's boots. When it rained or it snowed, she put on the boots on one child, walked into yeshiva, came back, put it on the next child, walked into yeshiva, came back, put it on the next child. 6 times she would go back and forth to yeshiva in order that the child should have boots. That's mesirut nefesh for our children. If we have homes of kedusha, if we have the absolute best melamdim, if we have a Rebbe or a yeshiva, if we have mesirut nefesh, then we have a shot of raising a dor yesharim mevorach. Rabotai, there is a euphoria going on out there. In my wildest dream, I never thought we would have such a magnanimous response towards our melamdim. They are truly loved throughout this country. And I want to make a beracha I want to make two berachot, actually. I want to make a beracha of Tova Metiv, and I want to make a beracha of Dayana Emet. What does that mean? Shulchan Aruch says, Al Shmuot Shehen Tovot, Lo Levado Mevarech Shehiyanu. If you have good tidings that only affects you, you say Shehiyanu. V'im hen tovot lo ule'acharim, but if it's good for you and somebody else, Mevarech HaTov Ve'Metiv. V'al Shmuot Ra'ot, and on bad news, Mevarech Baruch Dayan Emet. Are they ever said together, two of these berachot together? HaTov Ve'Metiv Dayan Emet? Yes. Mishnah Berurah gives the following case. Mishu Uchrach Mamat Aniyuto, someone who was forced because of his poverty, Lakahat Isha Ashira, to marry a rich woman, Shelo Be'afso. He doesn't want to marry this woman, but he's poverty-stricken and she's rich. And he's forced to marry her because of the poverty. Mevarech HaTov Ve'Ametiv V'Dayana Emet. He should say HaTov Ve'Ametiv V'Dayana Emet. I would like to make these two berachot. I would like to make Dayana Emet on the previous situation of Belamdim in this country. It's over. I'd like to make a Tov Metiv on the future direction, on the future situation of Rabbeim in this country. No more. No more will a Rebbe have to worry about his turnoff notices. No more will a Rebbe have to worry where he's going to get money for Yom Tif anymore. No more will a Rebbe have to worry about his maxed out on his credit cards. Be'ezrat Hashem, due to people like Reb Yanki Mandelbaum and all the other Gvirim. You can't imagine what's going on around the country. Meetings after meeting. I saw Rabbi Nayowitz here. Hashem Yishmerehu. First of all, before Rabbi Nayowitz, I'd like to thank Agudat Yisrael for allowing us the platform to bring this to the forefront. I'd like to thank Rabbi Nayowitz, who the day after the convention called me and said, we're going to do it. We're going to build, and he has not stopped. There are meetings every 2-3 days in Brooklyn with Torah Masorah, with Aguda, with Gvirim, with volunteers, all over. It's going on all over the country. It's historical. And Rabotai, I ask you to become part of it. And I'll conclude with this. Many years ago, I was by Rav Shach, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha. And Rav Shach wanted me to do something. The story's a long time ago. Rav Shach was maybe close to 90 years old at the time. And he wanted me to do something. He asked me to do something. And I hesitated. You never tell a gadol no, but I was very frightened from this request. And I hesitated. He sat me down. He took my hand and he held my hands. And he spoke to me in Hebrew. And he told me the following. He said, Ani ketzas yoiter gadol mimcha. I'm a little bit bigger than you. Bishanim, in years. Ukeshahayiti etzel HaChafetz Chaim. When I was by the Chafetz Chaim, hu amar li kacha, he told me the following. Sheyesh shulchan gadol b'shamayim. There's a very big table in Shamayim. V'al hashulchan hazeh, Yoshev v'loimed, they're sitting and learning Hatnoim, the Tanaim, v'Amoraim, v'Arishonim. Kulam b'shulchan achad. V'yesh od echad shama sheyoshev al hashulchan hazeh. There's one more person that's sitting on that table. Mi she'oisik b'tzoiche hatzibur be'emuna. And then he said to me, Aval zeh lo haya chidush shel HaChafetz Chaim. That wasn't the chidush of the Chafetz Chaim. HaChidush haya shehem mevinim. Those people that are Isaac B'tzorchei Tzibur are sitting on a table with Tanaim and Amoraim, learning with them. Vehem mevinim. You'll be brought to a level in learning of the Tanaim and the Amoraim. Rabotai, we all have to get involved. We will be zocher to sit on that table. Just remember, v'tehayena et hayeladim. We have to keep the children alive. We have to bring back all the spiritually dead children. We can't forget about them. And it takes money. Im en kemach and Torah. And I want you to know, Klal Yisrael, Baruch Hashem, is very rich today. And all we need is to work. If we work with Mesirut Nefesh and we believe that it can happen, it will happen. Shavua Tov.